All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Frank Cadle with the Get Fit and Be Lean program that you've seen me talk about before. All right. Wow. Things are kind of pulling together pretty quickly tonight. Excellent. Welcome, everybody. I really want to welcome all of my YouTube channel subscribers. I really never expected to get all of that much traction on YouTube. And so I really want to thank you for joining. And if you have any questions, I really hope you'll submit them on the comments. If not, feel free to wait until somebody else asks your particular question. Just give me a few seconds here to get all of my platforms up and running. Excellent. I'm Dr. Frank Cadle with the Get Fit and Be Lean program that I used to lose over 20% of my body weight in 2021. I lost more than 5 inches off my waist. I dropped 20 points in my cholesterol. I lowered my blood pressure by more than 20 millimeters of mercury. And I did all of this without any medications. In fact, I was able to stop taking my reflux heartburn medication, and I stopped snoring as well. I did it all without surgery and its risks that can occur even years afterwards. And I've been trying to pretty much put all of this stuff out on my social media platforms on a regular basis. The question that I had this week was about cleanses. Diabetes. Okay, yes, that's frequently related to obesity, and one of the reasons that I'm trying to carry this message on the internet of how to pursue a combination of calisthenics and a portion-controlled broad diet, and particularly taking on a lot of the fad diets, the carnivore ridiculous approach, the really restrictive diets, telling people to take 1,100, 1,200 calories. And let's see, Christina H. You might have known me at WVSOM. That's where I graduated from, and welcome. Appreciate you coming and signing online. So this week I was asked a question on my 5 things I wouldn't do to lose weight, which included cleanses and detox teas. And somebody asked me about that. I want you to understand that you have some organs that have developed over eons of competitive, evolutionary, biochemical alterations designed specifically to detoxify your system of the lactic acid and the various byproducts of your biochemistry and the breakdown of the food that you eat. Your liver, your kidneys, your skin, your spleen. These organs are working hard to keep you detoxified, and they do a great job. They probably don't need any help other than plenty of fresh water and a broad, varied diet. And the reason that I say that is because the research is pretty clear that there really isn't any indication, unless you have some serious alteration of your function of your kidneys or your liver. We can replace your kidneys with dialysis. It's not a very pleasant process. We cannot, however, replace your liver, or at least so far we can't. So sorry about that. I have a hard time. I got to turn the automatic shut off on that one off so that I can stay online with my Twitter account, even though I don't get any engagement in my Twitter account. All right. Nutrigenics and metabolomics analysis. Wow, that's pretty complex. And no, I utilize portion control with a broad and varied diet. And I did check my labs afterwards to take a look at my hemoglobin A1C, which was within normal limits, below 6, below 5.5, I think. And my creatinine, my cholesterol. I did all those labs after I lost more than 50 pounds on the Get Fit and D-Lean program. And I did publish photographs on my YouTube channel of almost every meal that I ate for more than a year. So you can see exactly how I did it. Monoclonal antibodies for COVID should be reserved for people that are at risk or are getting seriously ill. Paxlovid also looks like it is associated with relapse. I know a couple of people who relapsed with it and happened to Biden. So I would tend to reserve that for people who are at risk of getting seriously ill. People like myself who are 60 or older, people who are overweight. I'm no longer overweight. I think that really helped me beat COVID a couple of weeks ago. You know, I was sick for a couple of days, even though being vaccinated. But that was it. A couple of days, you know, got a little extra sleep, and that was about it. So hemoglobin A1C 7.1, a little high. Probably should talk to your doctor and make sure your doctor is involved in your care closely. All righty. So detox cleanses, you know, there was a real push 10 or 15 years ago looking at, you know, showing pictures of what was stuck in your colon. I've done a lot of colonoscopies. I give people colon preps for their colonoscopies. I can tell you there's nothing in there. Once you get a good prep, it's gone. And the thing is that there is supposed to be stuff in your colon. Your colon is not supposed to be empty. So if you feel like a detox is necessary to empty your colon, empty colon is not a good thing. In fact, your appendix serves as a reservoir of beneficial bacteria for those times where you may get an infectious diarrhea and end up with an empty colon, to help repopulate it and restore your normal microbiome, which we find is very important in the neurologic function of your gut and your brain. So really not a good idea. Benign polyps should probably get rescoped if you've had benign polyps in the past. Really only find benign polyps when you're looking for something. A lot of people do the FIT test now instead of colonoscopies, but I believe colonoscopies have a value, and I do recommend them for screening. All right. Looks like we got a pretty good turnout tonight. Dozens of people on a couple of different platforms. And I'm always looking for new questions, but mainly questions about nutrition and fitness, because that's really where I focus my online social media platform information. Because I really think that when you start talking about diagnoses, and I get people come on and they give 2 or 3 or 4 different diagnoses that they have, and they want to know what they should do, get a doctor is what you should do, and have an ongoing relationship with your own primary care physician, who then involves the appropriate specialists. This person had lots of different diagnoses, irritable bowel syndrome, and all kinds of inflammatory bowel diseases. And I'm telling you right now that you should not be trying to surf on the internet for that kind of stuff, because there's all kinds of information out there. If you are really good at evaluating research papers from the British Medical Journal, the New England Journal of Medicine, JAMA, the Lancet, other primary sources of peer-reviewed literature, and you can determine which ones were prospective, randomized, controlled, multi-center studies that should be of value, and whether they are confirmed by other studies, then sure, go ahead and make your own decisions. But let me see. Colonoscopies. No, people die from colon cancer. Very few people die from colonoscopies. The risks are very low. And advice for stress for irritable bowel syndrome. Once again, I would go with your gastroenterologist. But as far as de-stressing in today's world, my own belief is that it comes from routine and from taking that time to do those things that you find relieve your stress, whatever that is. Whether it's meditation, I think that's a great choice, but it does tend to take some instruction. You need to find someone who uses meditation on a regular basis. It's a skill. Meditation is a skill. Just like any skill, it takes time to develop the routine of performing the skill appropriately to achieve the best benefits from it. So my recommendation for that is that you find somebody who can teach you how to de-stress. If you're in a very stressful job, if you have a lot of stress in your personal life, that stuff is way beyond some internet influencer telling you what to do. Dietitians, FODMAP, stress is in check. So as far as stress is concerned, there is some indication that, I'm sorry about that. I got a little swaying going on there. There is some indication that stress increases the fat deposition preferentially in that intestinal and intra-abdominal fat that associates with higher risk profiles of inflammatory markers for cardiovascular disease. Now, there are some people on the internet who are taking that very valid information and trying to say that means that if you de-stress, then when you lose weight, you'll lose that weight first. And that is not scientifically validated by any studies that I am aware of. And this is one of the problems with scientific advancement in the age of commercialism, is that people take these discoveries, which are valid discoveries that are really the forefront of medicine, and they kind of expand those to apply them to all kinds of stuff that they are not made to be applied to. And this is the difference between the forefront of scientific research and the application of research in clinical medicine. And what I heard when I was in medical school that I still remember today is you need to be neither first nor last as a clinician. You don't want to jump on the bandwagon. You don't want to ignore a change in the field. You want to be aware of the changes and recognize when those forefronts of medicine, that groundbreaking research, actually becomes the standard of care, and apply it at that time. All right. So arteries get me throbbing. That's a funny joke, Marissa. Thank you very much. Maxwell Vasquez, thanks all you folks for joining. I really appreciate it. I really want to thank my YouTube channel subscribers. And I hope that anybody who's watching this on any platform will go to my Twitter feed. I publish articles and links to articles on my Twitter feed that address all these questions and the lives that I do. You can look at the primary source material yourself, make a decision yourself if you feel that you're qualified to evaluate that research. I can tell you that it took me years of education to become competent at evaluating research. And so it's not an easy thing. And I would recommend that you generally leave it to the professionals, because it is hard to know that there are certain biases or what the predominance of the literature is. Oh, and we have a visitor. Well, he's not in here. My dog has escaped. But anyway, I'm not going to talk too much more about detoxes and cleanses, except to point you to my Twitter feed, and it shows a number of different cases in which those things did real harm to people. They got dehydrated, they had renal failure, they had exposure to different chemicals that they shouldn't have been exposed to. You know, the FDA comes out with warnings about this stuff. And there was one particular article that I published in my Twitter feed that looked at 9 different substances that the FDA issued a warning on. And a year later, all of that stuff was still available in over-the-counter supplements and cleanses and those kind of things. So I am really not a fan. I'm never going to be a fan. You can come and toot the horn of whatever it is. So why am I prepped for surgery? And, you know, I will admit that I wear a mask almost all the time. And I wear my hat because I'm hokey, and I wear scrubs even when I'm not in the operating room. So that's why. So disassociation, that is definitely not my field. You need to talk to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, licensed clinical psychologist with a master's degree. Not sure if that thing's still working or not. Yeah, it looks like it is. So if anybody has any specific questions, I'll be happy to talk to them about that. If not, leave a comment on one of my videos and I'll try to get back to it. Welcome Amy Reynolds on Instagram. And welcome to all my channel subscribers on YouTube. I really appreciate you folks. I did not expect to get any kind of traction on YouTube. It seemed like much too polished and professional of a platform for me, whereas TikTok is more of just a kind of a silly thing to, and a lot of people are blogging their fat loss and their fitness journeys on TikTok, and I really get a lot of information from a variety of sources. You can see, I think you may be able to see who I'm following. I'm not sure, but I definitely follow a lot of people on there that really put out some good information. There's a lot of garbage on there. Okay, kale is not bad for you, even though it does apparently produce some sort of chemical as a result of the harvest of kale. So the carnivore guys say that means it's bad for you. I'm assuming the carnivore guys have never tried to kill a boar with a spear, or they might have a different outlook on bacon. But as you know, if you followed my account, I don't demonize food. I like food. There isn't much food that I don't like. Not a big fan of calf's brain, but other than that, I've eaten just about every kind of food and every kind of ethnicity of food, and I like food. So that is something that I'm going to continue to do, is promote a broad, varied diet. Now I do focus on portion control, and to assist portion control, I'll use not just the kitchen scales or a measuring cup, but I tend to try and use the smallest dish that I have available to eat from, because research indicates, and it's not conclusive, but it does show that there appears to be increased satiety happening in your brain if you're looking at the food and it's in a smaller container. You are telling yourself that you're full, and those kind of signals make a difference. Now, there are hormonal signals when you're losing weight that will tell your body that you're hungry when you're not hungry, or you're not full when you really are. I don't think those are reasons to say that we can't lose weight. When that stuff started coming out really strongly last spring, people were saying this is why you can't lose weight. Well, nobody says because men have hormonal urges that drive them to sexual attraction that they can't possibly withhold sexual advances. So I don't really understand why people would say, well, because you have a hormonal urge to eat, you can't possibly, you need to be aware of it. It's good to know where it's coming from. I think that knowledge can be power, but routine is really beneficial when you're talking about weight loss and fitness. So that is my goal, and that's what I've been trying to promote on these different platforms, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. So I really want to thank everybody who joined tonight, and I'm going to try to do these weekly at about the same time, 7:30 Pacific. Somehow it got on my Instagram as 7:30 a.m. I'm not going to do it at 7:30 a.m. I'm walking my dog at that time. So, all right. I'm going to sign off from everybody, and I really appreciate everybody who joined. I hope to see you on my Twitter feed.